darkness isn't always empty. Sometimes it breathes. When an outcast finds sanctuary in a world built for the misunderstood, obsession becomes a trap. Imagine a place where whispered opportunities promise dreams but demand blood-stained labor, where creatures of the night aren't the only predators. The shadows here don't just watch, they crawl, they hunger. And when the lights flicker out, you'll learn the final rule of survival: never let them taste your fear. The world always seemed a little brighter when she was near living things. Not just the fluffy and cuddly kind, though she loved those too. Even the creatures others dismissed, the ones that crawled or slithered, held a certain allure. But it was bats that truly captured her imagination, a fascination born from a quiet, solitary childhood. School hadn't been kind. She was different, and difference invited ridicule. She retreated into herself, finding comfort in the misunderstood. Her 13th birthday wish wasn't for a party or presents, but a trip to the city zoo. While other children clamored for souvenirs, she lost herself within the shadowy depths of the bat house. Row upon row of glass-enclosed corridors held a dizzying array of species, but the vampire bats held her spellbound. There they were, small, dark shapes flitting around a bowl of crimson liquid, their fur stained with the evidence of their unusual diet. She didn't realize her parents had wandered off until hours later, lost in the silent observation of these creatures, her heart strangely at peace. From that moment forward, her path seemed clear. Years drifted by, filled with obsessive study and a quiet, unwavering devotion. She devoured every book, every article, every documentary about bats. Dreams of a life dedicated to their care fueled her through difficult high school years, but the weight of circumstance pressed down. Poverty loomed, and the possibility of further education felt distant, maybe even impossible. Volunteer positions offered glimpses of the work she desired, but anxiety often stole her opportunities during interviews. Then, almost impossibly, a sanctuary appeared. It wasn't connected to any established organization, lacked the necessary certifications, and operated with a strange, almost secretive air. It raised flags, yes, but when she saw the advertisement, everything changed. No experience needed, a real wage, benefits included. She submitted her application with a hopeful tremor in her hands. The response came swiftly, a kind voice practically bubbling with enthusiasm, declaring her a perfect fit. The details followed: bank information, medical tests, and a surprising request for a blood sample. The job was located far away, but she had nothing to tie her down. She spent her meager savings on travel, supplementing it with long stretches of hitchhiking, until, finally, she arrived. The entrance was guarded, her credentials scrutinized before she was allowed through. Beyond, a flurry of construction activity surrounded a towering structure, a Gothic-style building, rising from thick stone walls that enclosed the entire property. It resembled a castle, with spiraling staircases and imposing archways casting long shadows. The prospect of living and working at such a place felt almost unreal. The sanctuary itself was unlike anything she'd ever seen. It was like a miniature rainforest enclosed within a massive dome, a humid, verdant space filled with towering trees and exotic plants. The boundaries were secured with thick steel fencing, ostensibly for the bats' protection. And within those boundaries, only vampire bats thrived. It felt like a dream come true, a sanctuary perfectly tailored to her singular passion. But the work was demanding. The stone feeding troughs were incredibly heavy, and the blood itself carried a strange, metallic smell, like old coins left to rust. Cleaning meant constant exposure, a sticky residue that stubbornly clung to her skin, staining her hands and lodging under her fingernails. Despite the discomfort, she persisted, reminding herself that it was all worth it. She was caring for the creatures she loved. Slowly, subtly, a sense of unease began to creep in. The other workers were elusive, appearing rarely and offering only whispered laughter and sidelong glances. The task stretched on, growing longer with each passing night. She found herself staying later and later, driven by a need to complete the endless cycle of feeding, cleaning, and maintenance. That's when the strange sounds began. Scuttling noises echoing through the gardens, the fencing vibrating, not with the gentle flutter of wings, but with a heavier, deliberate force. The bats hadn't made those sounds. Something else was moving around the sanctuary. Then came the blood. Not the stale, poured blood from the feeding troughs, but fresh, warm blood, dripping from above as if from an unseen source. She would look up, searching for an explanation, but only find empty space. She began to catch glimpses of movement on the periphery of her vision. Shapes moving within the dense foliage, climbing the high fences, forms that resembled humans, but disappeared whenever she turned to look. Her keys vanished one night. Searching frantically, she found the main building's door locked, her path to safety blocked. As she searched, the lights flickered and died, plunging the sanctuary into absolute darkness. Lost and disoriented, she stumbled through the overgrown pathways, branches reaching out like grasping hands. The air grew heavy, silent, suffocating. The scuttling sounds returned, closer now, louder. Then the blood began to fall again, in torrents this time, coating her hair, her skin, a warm, sticky deluge. Reaching for her phone, she saw the battery indicator flashing red. 7%. She activated the flashlight, the narrow beam revealing a disturbing sight. A growing pool of blood collecting at her feet. She lifted the beam higher, her hand trembling. Hanging from the metal supports, clinging to the darkness, was a creature, grotesque and enormous. Its skin was pale and wrinkled, its face distorted by a bat-like nose and a mouth filled with rows of bloody teeth. It was a terrifying fusion of man and bat, limbs thick and bent, claws extended. The light caught its eyes and it stared back, a cold, vacant gaze. She turned and ran, blindly pushing through the dense foliage, her heart pounding against her ribs. She slammed against the locked door, screaming for help, but only silence answered. She huddled behind a tree, desperately hoping to disappear into the shadows. Her phone flickered, showing only 1% battery. Then footsteps, slow, deliberate, drawing nearer. A voice, raspy and low, followed. It whispered her name, a disturbing imitation of affection. The voice urged her to stop hiding. It wanted a taste, and her screen went black. What do you think really lurked in the shadows of that bat sanctuary? Leave your comments below on your thoughts. Like, subscribe, share, and hit the bell for more content like this.